NEC 110.12 addresses unused openings in electrical enclosures and raceways that could permit the entry of rodents. This section mandates that these openings be effectively closed to prevent such ingress. In a situation where a gutter or panel board has large holes cut out around conduits creating gaps exceeding 1/4 of an inch, and that could potentially allow mice to enter, this scenario would indeed violate NEC 110.12a. To rectify this issue and ensure compliance with the code, several corrective measures can be implemented. Firstly, install grommets or bushings around the conduits where they pass through the openings in the gutter or panel board. These will seal the space between the conduit and the enclosure, preventing rodents from squeezing through. Secondly, fill the openings with a suitable sealant such as putty or caulk. Ensure that the sealant is appropriate for electrical applications and that it completely fills the gap, creating a barrier against rodent entry. Thirdly, consider using expanding foam to fill the openings. This method can be particularly effective for irregular or larger gaps, as the foam expands to fill the available space. Be mindful of the foam's compatibility with electrical components and its potential flammability. Fourthly, cover the openings with a metal plate or other solid material. This approach provides a physical barrier that rodents cannot penetrate. The plate should be securely fastened to the enclosure and should completely cover the opening. Regarding the authority having jurisdiction, or OJ, it is important to understand their role in determining the effective date of a new NEC code. The AHA is the entity responsible for enforcing electrical codes, typically a local electrical inspector or other designated authority. They have the power to determine when a new code will be adopted and enforced in their specific jurisdiction. As for the NEC 2005 effective date, it is not explicitly specified within the code itself. Instead, the effective date varies depending on the AHA. Generally, new NEC codes become effective within 1 to 2 years after their initial publication. To determine the specific effective date of NEC 2005 in your area, it is necessary to consult with the local AHA. They will be able to provide you with the accurate and up-to-date information regarding code adoption and enforcement. In addition to the corrective measures previously mentioned, there are a few other considerations to keep in mind when addressing rodent entry through conduit openings. Firstly, ensure that all materials used for sealing or covering the openings are suitable for the environment in which they are installed. This includes factors such as temperature, humidity, and exposure to chemicals or other corrosive substances. Secondly, regularly inspect the enclosures and raceways for any signs of rodent activity. This will help to identify potential problems early on and prevent more extensive damage. Thirdly, consider implementing a comprehensive pest control program to reduce the overall rodent population in the area. This can involve measures such as eliminating food sources, sealing entry points, and using traps or bait. Furthermore, when selecting a sealant or other material to fill the openings, ensure that it is compatible with the materials of the enclosure and the conduit. This will prevent any adverse reactions that could compromise the integrity of the electrical system. Also, make sure that the sealant or material is applied properly and that it completely fills the gap, leaving no voids or openings for rodents to exploit. In addition, when using a metal plate or other solid material to cover the openings, ensure that it is securely fastened to the enclosure. This will prevent rodents from dislodging the plate and gaining access to the electrical system. The plate should be made of a durable material that can withstand the elements and resist corrosion. Moreover, when installing grommets or bushings around the conduits, ensure that they are properly sized and installed. This will provide a tight seal between the conduit and the enclosure, preventing rodents from squeezing through. The grommets or bushings should be made of a material that is resistant to damage from rodents and other pests. When working with electrical systems, always follow proper safety precautions. This includes energizing the circuit before working on any components, wearing appropriate personal protective equipment, and using tools that are properly insulated. If you are not comfortable working with electrical systems, it is best to hire a qualified electrician to perform the work. The electrician will be familiar with the NEC and will be able to ensure that the work is done safely and in accordance with code requirements. In addition to the NEC, there may be other local codes or regulations that apply to electrical installations. It is important to be aware of these codes and regulations and to ensure that all work is done in compliance with them. The AHA can provide you with information on any local codes or regulations that apply to your area. Furthermore, it is important to maintain proper documentation of all electrical work that is performed. This includes keeping records of inspections, repairs, and modifications. This documentation can be helpful in the event of a future inspection or audit. When selecting an electrician to perform electrical work, it is important to choose a qualified and experienced professional. The electrician should be licensed and insured and should have a good reputation. You can check with the Better Business Bureau or other consumer protection agencies to see if there have been any complaints filed against the electrician. In conclusion, NEC 110.12 is an important code requirement that helps to prevent rodent entry into electrical enclosures and raceways. By following the corrective measures outlined in this discussion, you can ensure that your electrical system is safe and compliant with code requirements. Remember to consult with the local AHA to determine the specific effective date of new NEC codes and to ensure that all work is done in accordance with local codes and regulations. And always prioritize safety when working with electrical systems. Firstly, use the proper sealants. Secondly, look at the type of enclosures. And thirdly, call a professional if you have an issue with the electrical system. Fourthly, always make sure that the system is properly grounded, because grounds can introduce shorts in the system. Fifthly, inspect all electrical systems. Sixthly, if the rodent problem is not addressed, they can begin to eat the wires. Seventhly, use a proper gauge wire and use the correct type of conduit. Eighthly, secure all panels and close all unused openings. Ninthly, be aware of all the codes involved. Tenthly, follow the manufacturer's instructions when performing any work on the electrical system.